Hi everyone, you're very welcome to our first NHSSCA webinar with Output Sports. We're really excited about this partnership and to engage with the strength conditioning community in US high schools. And actually, as a matter of fact, our company mission is to make elite level sports science simple and scalable. So the purpose of today's webinar is just a really brief introduction to our company background, and then also to give an introduction to the technology. So just a sneak peek of how our sensors work, our mobile capture app, and then also our hub system, which is great for reporting, analyzing long-term athlete development, and then driving intent with leaderboards as athletes go through testing and training as well. So just to give you a brief background on the company, we launched in 2020 after 7 years of research in University College Dublin. And as mentioned, our mission is to make elite level sports science simple and scalable. And really what that means is giving you top-end data quality in terms of VBT, jump testing, mobility, athlete profiling, and athlete monitoring, but in a much more simple and scalable fashion than traditional technologies. So we use a single inertial measurement unit that can stream up to 1000 hertz and is great for measuring everything from jumps to mobility and a whole range of things that you want to understand and develop in your athletes. So since we've launched, we're now operating in over 30 countries, and we work across pro sports, universities, and now increasingly with schools as well, which is really, really exciting for us. And then in addition to that, performance facilities and rehab would be where you see a lot of the application of output. But ultimately, it's a system that can help you understand your athletes. It can help drive competition and focus as they train, and it can really help navigate their trajectory of athletic development through the different measures that we provide in a very portable and simple system. So one area that we really focus on as a company is providing high value data, but at a low burden. So if you think of some of the traditional technologies you need to test or monitor an athlete, they could have a very high cost and be very cumbersome and difficult to use, or they could be lower cost, but then lack accuracy or lack quality of data. We're looking to create something very unique that gives you diverse, high value data, but at a really low burden. And by burden, I mean that it's quick to implement, that it's really quick and great to get to the insights you're looking for, and that you can rapidly deploy it in the busy environment of a high school as well. So as I mentioned, we're now working across 30 countries, including in some of the top leagues in the world, and we were also at the World Cup last month. But for the purpose of today, I'd just like to introduce to the actual technology that's been used, and most excitingly, how it's starting to be used in schools as well. So I'll just switch over my screen share here to our mobile app, and this is what we call output capture. So on my screen here, you'll be able to see our unit. It's just about the size of a matchbox, and it's a USB-C charger. Charges from empty to full in 45 minutes, and then you typically get 2 to 3 days of usage in your weight room out of it. When an athlete logs in, they select their profile, and then you can quickly log their height and weight, which obviously can be very useful with younger developing athletes. And then they can self-report their readiness, psychological well-being, sleep quality, and physical well-being. But really the crux of the capture app is actually in what we measure. So you can think of this as things that we measure during training, during a profiling session, or during a movement screen. So in terms of movement, especially with younger athletes, you may be interested in their balance control, their flexibility, and then in terms of performance, we monitor things like jump quality, reactive strength, Nordics in terms of hamstring health. And then during training, we can use velocity-based training, we can monitor kettlebell work, med ball work, and also can look at range of motion and squat depth with our strength endurance and strength pathway, which looks at your limb range of motion and limb angular velocity. So ultimately, we're providing a single sensor that pairs up to a tablet, and then it allows you to capture these objective data points on your athletes really quickly, and then with great accuracy, and then also efficiently as well. So this is the capture app. What you'll also notice is we have a workout builder in there, and that means you can pre-design a protocol that you'd like your athletes to follow. So for instance, there's a baseball movement screen here that would take you through a shoulder assessment and then some speed strength work in terms of med ball work. But then also you can put in your strength training protocols and sets, reps, targets for the likes of a strength program and so on. So today I'm just going to briefly show the app in action by showing some VBT, and mobility test, and a jump. And then I'm going to show you our hub system. And the hub is really what can help drive your long-term athlete development. As an organization, it's got athlete reporting, it's got quick analytics, you can see who's recovered and ready, and then you can also report down to the athletes, but also up to any of the sports coaches or the wider sports organization in your school as well. So just to briefly show you how the system works, I currently have my athlete profile selected. I'll jump into VBT. I'm going to use our free mode, but as you can see, we have a lot of exercises, right from your dumbbell movement to your Olympic lifts through to your typical strength lifts. And then as you train, you can set up whether it's velocity loss or velocity target. So I'm going to pretend to use velocity drop off here. And just because it's free mode, I'm just going to move the sensor up and down to show you the sort of feedback the athletes get as they train. So as the athlete starts to move, you'll see that they get their velocity in there, and then rep on rep, we're seeing are they on or off target. So just there on the 4th rep, you can see there's a red dot that indicates I've gone below the target velocity drop off. So I'd then finish set if I was lifting in the weight room. And then automatically they're seeing their drop off there, and the coach has their parametrics, their force, the depth of each repetition. Let's say another athlete wanted to jump up. It's just a matter of clicking change athlete, selecting the next person to go, and then they can record, and then straight away you're at the rack, getting your feedback nice and efficiently. All of this data has been stored automatically, and that will be what I'll show in the hub in just a few moments. So no matter what you're testing or monitoring, you can just navigate to it very quickly in the output app. So let's say it's a jump test. In this case, I can just check, okay, where does the sensor get positioned? And it's on my foot. And then from there, I'm just going to position the sensor on my foot and show you how it can be used not just for VBT, but also for athletic profiling. So I'm going to jump back to my profile, press start, log a jump, and then as soon as I land, you're seeing the recording of that score. So here we have takeoff velocity, the work at takeoff, and then also the flight time of the athlete. And again, we could quickly change the athlete, we could quickly repeat the test, and then that data is all logging straight onto my profile. Just to give you a sense of another really popular area, especially in baseball players and golfers, is mobility assessment. And then if I jump into, say, a shoulder external rotation, I'll show how the system can be used to capture range of motion data. And let's say I wanted to look at shoulder external rotation on the right-hand side. I'm then moving the unit from my foot up to the forearm. And then I'm going to hold the unit, my shoulder in neutral position, go up to end of range, hold it there. And then once it's in a stationary position, we capture my shoulder arm. So again, this can be used for assessment, monitoring the impact of fatigue from gameplay and training, but also to monitor progress over time as the athletes develop towards the physical characteristics that are ideal for the different sports that you work with. So in terms of capture, just to reiterate, we have the ability to follow workouts and flows, the ability to capture over 180 objective assessments. The athlete can also self-report their wellness, their height, their weight, so all of this objective data can coincide with the athlete's psychological well-being and also their height and weight data. And then ultimately, it's a way to get in-training feedback and assessment feedback on your athletes with a single matchbox size sensor. So I'm just going to jump to the other part of the system, which is called the Output Hub. And this is where we focus on reporting, analytics, intent, and integration of the data with other systems. So the first thing you'll see when you log in is our live mode. And this is really about creating intent in your weight room. So if you're doing a VBT session or jump testing, or even just a testing day with your athletes, you can see the news feed of everything that's happening in your weight room or your facility as it happens. So Thomas Lawler there, who's exercising separately, just did an exercise and that's popping up here. So now if I want to look at a leaderboard, I can select any time period. So if I wanted to see jump heights from today, and every time someone gets their personal best in that time period, it'll populate straight onto the leaderboard. So it's a great way to get competition driving between athletes, and especially in schools, what we see is kids landing from their jumps and running straight up to the leaderboard to see how they compare to their peers. And the really nice thing is you can actually filter that by subgroups. So let's say we wanted to look at athletes just from a specific sport. We can then immediately filter down to the athletes in that sport so that you're getting compared to your peers. Even if you're working in a school with 15 or 20 sports, you can immediately filter all these screens just to who's in the weight room at the given time. Another aspect of the system is actually athlete analytics. So if I jump into my profile here, and I actually wanted to look at how am I trending over time, I could look at the best I've done each month over the last year, and very quickly I can see where I lay today relative to my personal bests, relative to my averages, and I can also see if there's any concerns. So today let's say I wanted to look at this over just the last month, I could quickly see if there's any trend of concern that I might want to act on in terms of the athlete's recovery and fatigue. All of the sets, all of the effectiveness you take on the athletes are syncing in here automatically. So say if we wanted to look at a load velocity profile, I could quickly look at multiple sets of an exercise on a given day. I could say, okay, where do I get a nice spread of loads? And then from there, we can see across the different sets, how did the velocity change? How did the different metrics like power, force, depth change? Within a click of a button, you can have that athlete's full load velocity profile and look at their estimate RM and the loads that they're lifting over time as well. So this can be used for prescription, but also for load velocity profiling and understanding the athlete's strength and power profile at a specific point in time as well. So from the athlete profile, you can visualize any metric, you can get top level summaries or in-depth summaries of all of the metrics in the system. But a really exciting aspect as well is that you can compare multiple athletes over the same measurements over time. So let's say you're working through a jump program and you wanted to see your athletes jump progress over time. You can turn on this for any team or any group in the organization, look at a given time period, filter by an appropriate level, and you can start to see which athletes in the organization are below and above group averages, how are athletes currently trending relative to their personal best. And very quickly, you can then export this information to give it to the sports coach or to share it with the wider organization as well. So from the point of view of analytics and analysis, there's lots at a click of a button in the system. And you can also set up these readiness and recovery dashboards that allow you to quickly see which athletes are in need of attention. I won't go into too much detail on this today, but from the intent point of view, there's also leaderboards. So this would allow you to have up to 4 different exercises on screen at any given time. And if you had multiple screens in your gym, you can full screen those leaderboards so that you can get big focus around a specific measurement in a certain part of your weight room. And then finally, data integration and exporting data is really important for many coaches. So we allow you to create automatic PDF reports for your athletes, but also to export in any way you like to Excel as well. So you can give all your athletes at once, one athlete at a time, all your exercises at once, or just specific exercises that you'd like to analyze in other softwares. And last thing just to say is that we're increasingly building out that workout builder functionality that I showed. And this gives you the ability to create and edit workout protocols for your athletes, setting things like sets, reps, targets for the athletes, dictating if it's left versus right unilateral, or if you're doing bilateral exercise and so on, but ultimately using notes and targets so that the athlete knows exactly what to do when they walk into a weight room session with you guys as coaches. So that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of the output system. Just to reiterate, it's a single matchbox size sensor, enabling a lot of exercise assessment and also driving intent and monitoring with a single system. The system itself works on both iOS and Android devices, typically any tablet or phone that's been built in the last 6 to 8 years. And then the hub system that I've just shown works on any web browser, so Chrome, etc. And you can deploy this and all of the data will synchronize in real time across the tablets and the phones into the coach's hub. Here you can then focus on intent and analysis and reporting and data integration, as well as building your exercise interventions and workouts as well. So that's a really brief run through, but that was hopefully just a useful way to give you a sense of the technology for today. So what I'll do now is I'll stop sharing my screen and allow for any questions. And I should say as well that in follow-up to this webinar, if you'd like a more in-depth demo from any of our team, we have 4 of our sports science team in the USA that we're more than happy to schedule in-depth product demo with you and your colleagues to get more into understanding what you do in your weight room and how we could help in output sports as well.